Hey guys, welcome back to Game of Constellations, and today we'll be discussing Sun in the ninth house. So let's get started. So what is the ninth house? Ninth house is the highest of the highest dharma houses in Vedic astrology. And apart from the ninth house, I've already mentioned before that the first house and the fifth house are also dharma houses. And so 1, 5 and 9 in Vedic astrology is basically linked to dharma houses. So let's discuss more about what actually is the ninth house. What does the ninth house signify? So firstly, ninth house is ruled by Jupiter. So the significator of the ninth house is Jupiter by default, because if you take the original Kala Purush chart, it is where you make Aries as the ascendant and you see Sagittarius falling into the ninth house. So basically, Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, and so that's why we say Jupiter is also the significator of the ninth house. And we can connect better to Jupiter being the significator of the ninth house because ninth house is very strongly connected to father, religion, teachers, guru. Anyone who spreads knowledge is connected to the ninth house. Ninth house also signifies your belief system, your intent, what you want to do in this life. So every human being comes into this life to do something, and that something is actually hidden inside the ninth house. And so this is like a very, very important house in Vedic astrology, and it is also called the fortune house. So you can see all your fortunes, luck, and anything that is a blessing to you is actually linked to the ninth house. And so ninth house, moving forward, is also linked to philosophy, law and order, anything that has to deal with higher education, pursuing masters or PhD, or anything that is basically above normal, above average when it comes to education, is linked to the ninth house. And now what is Sun? Sun is basically power, authority, ego. Sun signifies father, Sun signifies creativity. It's your willpower to do something in this lifetime. And also Sun is connected to politics. And finally, Sun is the most important planet in Vedic astrology because this is the planet that will amplify a person's chart in whichever house Sun sits in. So we're discussing Sun in the ninth house, but in reality, wherever Sun sits in, that house basically gets the light, and that's the focus of this person's life. And yes, and Sun is basically the Atma Karaka of the birth chart, or the D1 chart in Vedic astrology. So Sun is very important in Vedic astrology. So moving on, what happens when the Sun goes into the ninth house? Well, basically, this is one of the best placements in Vedic astrology for Sun to be in. And you will also hear from other astrologers and from other sources and channels that Sun in the 10th house is the best position for Sun to be in. But I disagree with this because Sun in the 9th house and Sun in the 10th house, they both have their own advantages and disadvantages. Now, Sun in the 10th house, people would say, is the best because Sun gets Digbala in the 10th house, which is basically directional strength, what you call a directional strength for Sun. So, but then that has its own disadvantages, and we will definitely discuss this in the next video when I release Sun in the 10th house. But for now, let's focus into Sun in the 9th house. So with Sun in the 9th house, this gives a natural quality to the person where this native or person wants to spread knowledge. He or she wants to teach people, wants to share their thoughts, and they're very firm about it. This is the best part about Sun in the 9th house. They just are very carefree in what they want to say. If they believe in something, if they accept something inside them saying, well, I think this is right, and then they're just going to go stand against 100 people and still say the same thing. they will not be influenced, or they will be very, very highly likely to not be influenced, because this is a very strong position for Sun to sit in, because this is Jupiter's house. And this is not just Jupiter's house, but I also mentioned before that this is the house of blessings, it's the house of fortune, it's the highest of the highest dharma houses. And Sun, being a dharmic planet, loves to sit in such a house. This house, in a different way, is good for someone who wants to serve, someone who wants to actually reach out and help people. It's a bit different from politics, because I think this is where Sun in the 10th house is more beneficial for politics, because that's more individual. Because the 10th house is ruled by Saturn, and then Sun gets that energy where it wants to think about, so the native wants to think about himself or herself, and then that's where you see the benefit. Anyway, let's keep this for the next video. But then coming back to Sun in the 9th house, here Sun gets the Jupiter's energy, where Jupiter now says, right, let's do something more dharmic. Let's actually go help people. You don't have to be in power to help people. So this is the kind of a person who can be a journalist, who wants to spread out the actual truth, who wants to pass information to others. This is a person who wants everyone to know what's actually going on in the world, and they want to communicate just because they want things to be right. This can also be someone who's really, really into protesting when something goes wrong, because Sun in the 9th house will make the person fight for justice, and they will always want to voice out their opinion, and this can become quite dangerous depending on the Sun's position, in terms of which zodiac sign Sun sits in, because in some of the zodiac signs, this Sun can just receive a little bit negative energy, because look, Sun is the only planet in Vedic astrology that is called a mild malefic. Because look, you have benefic planets in Vedic astrology, and then you also have malefic planets in Vedic astrology, but Sun falls in between. And that's why, well, you would say Sun is not a planet, Sun is a star, but then in reality Sun is a graha, so let's put it that way. But to make it easy for communication, I'm still going to say Sun is a planet. So we need to be careful, because Sun, being a mild malefic, especially in the 9th house, depending on some zodiac signs and certain aspects, can actually make the person speak something more than they actually have to speak, which can also land them into trouble with legal issues. Because look, 9th house is, I've mentioned it before, that 9th house is law and order, so it deals with legal issues also. It deals with justice, court. So this person can be taken to court, this person can be sentenced, this person can actually land up in a big problem with the government and with the police and with everybody there controlling law and order. Because what's happening here is Sun pushes this person to go to such an extent that they don't care what they're voicing out. They just don't care what they put out. They just speak whatever they want. They do what they think is right. So this is a very subjective analysis of the Sun, because you have to look at exactly which zodiac sign, the degree, the nakshatra, and also aspects, which is very important to see if this person can actually land up into trouble. But moving away from a malefic Sun to a more benefic Sun is that this brings in and opens up some opportunities for the native once they cross the age of 22. Because once this person crosses 22, there are two things that happens with the Sun. One is that the person starts to receive a lot of benefit from their father in all aspects. It can be financial benefit, it can be the knowledge that they take from their father, it can be the skills that they adapt from their father. Because look, again, skills, intellect is actually the 5th house, but remember, in Vedic astrology you have the concept of bhavat bhavam. So 5th from the 5th house. So if you count 5th from the 5th house, which is 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th, so that's the 9th house. So basically the 9th house is a higher version of the 5th house, or is basically an amplified version of the 5th house, where you can see this person having a higher skill set, this person grabbing more knowledge. And that's why the 5th house is linked to school, your basic education, your foundation, and the 9th house is actually linked to universities, masters, PhD, the higher knowledge that you gain once you grow. So this is the first thing that happens to the person with the sun in the 9th house after they cross the age of 22. And the second thing is that marriage becomes a very important thing again for sun in the 9th house, because here you can see that marriage is something that will unlock blessings for this native. And why am I saying this? Because Navamsha in Vedic astrology is another chart that we see. It's called the D9 chart, and which is a very important chart for marriage. And what is this Navamsha chart? Like, how do you even get this Navamsha chart? It's basically the 9th house of the birth chart opened up, and that's your Navamsha chart. So you can see that sun in the 9th house is obviously strongly connected to the Navamsha chart. And for the fact that it's a very good position for sun to be sitting in, it makes the Navamsha powerful. And so after the age of 22, when this native, you can see this native starts to receive alliances. Maybe they end up liking someone, or marriage just comes to them. Unless, now obviously we have to look at other zodiac signs, and we have to look at what's happening in the entire chart to see if marriage is denied or if something else is going wrong. But to be very general and specific on the 9th house, this is a beautiful position for the native to land up in a relationship, to get married, to take all the blessings from marriage. And so this is a very good position for sun in the 9th house. It's in fact the best position for a native or a person to have this. Now, sun in the 9th house can also make a native travel, and this travel can actually not just be distant lands, but it can be more of a religious travel, or like a pilgrimage, or just simply something that this travel makes them realize who they are. This is a very important thing for sun in the 9th house. When they travel, they find themselves. They actually realize, right, I need to do a lot more things. It's like a trip that helps them to understand where they're going wrong and what they need to do to fix it. So this is a beautiful thing again for sun in the 9th house, because travel is a beautiful thing to do, and these people love traveling. And obviously, depending on which zodiac sign the sun is in the 9th house, the way this person thinks about travel can also change. Maybe some people would like to travel to mountains and hills, but then somebody else would like to travel only to beaches and watery areas, and some people would just say, well, I just want to travel to empty places and barren lands. So this depends on the zodiac sign of where sun is sitting in, but travel becomes a very, very important theme for sun in the 9th house. And one more thing with sun in the 9th house is that this person or native tends to learn more about foreign culture, the culture which is not found in their country but then which is elsewhere. This person wants to go explore. They want to learn. They want that knowledge. They seek for different culture knowledge. And this is a very strong theme with sun in the 9th house. And finally, before we end this video, a tip to everybody with sun in the 9th house: even though you have it in a very good zodiac sign, if you want to make it more better, if you want more blessings, more fortune, it's just 2 simple tips. One is that no matter what, try respecting your father in whichever situation you are with your father, because look, sun in the 9th house has a very strong connection with father. Why? Sun is father, 9th house is also father, and Jupiter is the significator of the 9th house. So your father is a guru to you, and you can't disobey your guru, because if you do that, that's where your blessings are going to be crushed. So make sure you have a very cordial relationship with your father. At least, even if you don't have a cordial relationship, make sure you're not disrespecting your father, and this is going to help you improve your 9th house. And the second thing is that naturally, with sun being a very hot planet, an egoistic planet, when it sits in the 9th house, this native gets a feeling that they know everything, and sometimes they just get a bit overconfident with what they know, and they can be too egoistic with other people when they communicate. Maybe when they're in a conversation, they're always finding themselves in an argument because they think, look, I know I'm right and you're wrong. And sometimes it just doesn't work. And they don't want to accept, they don't want to learn that, right, actually I am wrong and he's right or she's right. But it's a bit of that ego battle within themselves. And also that ego that doesn't let them to accept that someone's better than them. So you got to be careful with this attitude of the sun. And if all these aspects can be improved from your side, then the 9th house will really become a house of blessing. So anyway guys, this was my take on sun in the 9th house. If you really like this video, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and also comment on my video. And just drop any further comments if you want me to make any special videos, or if there's any specific videos that you want me to make, and I'll be more than happy to make that. So until next time.